Okay, so here is a picture of the mushroom Lingji. The Latin name is Ganoderma lucidum, which means that it has a shiny appearance. It's often referred to as the king of herbs. It's a very important herb in Chinese traditional medicine. In Japan, it's called reishi, and it's often known as the 10,000-year mushroom and mushroom of immortality because it's said to promote longevity. Next slide, please. These are two textbooks that were produced recently on herbal medicine, and along with colleagues, we wrote a chapter on Lingji, looking at the biological effects of this fungus. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Can we have the next one? Okay. Now, this sort of herbal material contains many different compounds, many different substances, and there are three major substances in Lingji: the triterpenes, which are a whole mixture of different compounds based on ganoderic acid, and then polysaccharides. You've heard about polysaccharides in the skin preparations, and lastly, fungal immunomodulatory proteins, FIPs. Now, the triterpenes are based on a simple compound, squalene, which is the starting block, and it then forms a cycle, lanosterol, and then gets converted into ganoderic acid. Squalene and lanosterol are actually something that we form in our own bodies, and they go on to form cholesterol. The polysaccharides are based on glucose. Glucose, of course, is a natural sugar that circulates in our blood and gives us energy. But in the Lingji plant, it's converted into a polymer, a chain of glucose molecules, which has a branching appearance. And this has a particular special effect on various aspects of body function. Next one, please. So this is a long list of some of the biological effects that have been demonstrated with Lingji. You can see the biological activity and the different compounds within the fungal material which contribute to this. And you can see things like immunomodulation. Immunomodulation means the correction of the immune system, not always stimulating or reducing, but getting it at the right level. Next one, please. So if you think about the immune system that we have, the immune system is very important. It has an important function to prevent us getting infections. We all get infections now and again, colds and flu, but with a good immune system you can help to prevent those. The immune system is also involved in an anti-aging effect. It's important in maintaining health and preventing cancer. Next one, please. So the molecules from Ganoderma, from Lingji, have a function on the immune system to strengthen it. They strengthen the immune system and reduce the chance of catching infections like colds and flu. They decrease the risk of developing cancer, and they help to reduce the effects of radiation or chemotherapy if those are used to treat cancer once it's developed. Next one, please. Now, cancer is the commonest cause of death here in Hong Kong and in many other countries. And there are a number of very important, very common cancers: lung cancer, colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and the type of skin cancer called melanoma. And I'm going to show you some evidence that Lingji can help all of these things. Now, it's important to remember that some of the primary treatments that we use to treat cancer are actually derived from plants. Plants are a major source of a number of medications. Now, this is one paper looking at the targeting, how Lingji can influence the pathways involved in cancer. And you can see this is very complicated, of course, but you see down at the bottom the apoptosis. This is the process by which cells in cancer are killed. It's a programmed cell death. And it's been demonstrated that Lingji can influence this process through various factors. This is a study published very recently showing that the blood, the plasma from patients with lung cancer actually has a harmful effect on lymphocytes developing. And by adding Lingji to the system, this cell system, one can overcome the harmful effect of the plasma from the patients with lung cancer. So Lingji can overcome this effect and allow the lymphocytes to proliferate more effectively. There's also evidence that Lingji can reduce the growth of colon cancer. This is not a very nice looking picture, I'm afraid, but it shows you that in these mice where one can get cancer to grow on the skin surface, treating them with increasing amounts of Lingji can reduce the size of the cancer, and it produces an effect very similar to a treatment which is used as the primary treatment of cancer, 5-FU, 5-fluorouracil. Next one, please. There's also evidence that Lingji can interfere with the growth of prostate cancer cells. These pictures show prostate cancer cells growing and show that the growth is inhibited by adding Lingji to the system, the cell-based system. We can show similar effects in cells which are human breast cancer cells or the mouse melanoma cell. Incubating these with extract of Lingji reduces the growth of these cells. So there's also evidence that Lingji can help the response to chemotherapy or radiation. And it does that by affecting the cells, the white blood cells, and making them attack the tumor and reduce the growth of the cancer cells. Now this is a summary of all of the medical information up to last year, and it's the Cochrane database of systematic reviews. It's a very comprehensive medical document looking at all the material that's been published about Lingji. And the conclusion in this summary is that Ganoderma lucidum can be administered as an alternative adjunct to conventional treatment because of its potential of enhancing tumor response and stimulating host immunity. And in all of the studies, in many studies, it was well tolerated by most participants with only a scattered number of minor adverse effects and no major toxicity. So this is a very extensive review of all the material. It's not recommending that one should use it as the primary treatment for cancer. We have other more potent drugs in a way, but it does recommend it as an adjunct treatment to improve the response to the primary cancer treatments. Now moving on from cancer to the liver. The liver, of course, is a very important organ. It has many essential functions in the body. It helps to detoxify things that we take in which might have toxic effects. It produces a lot of the important chemicals that circulate within the body. And in this study that was published just earlier this year, treatment with Ganoderma lucidum, with Lingji, improved the antioxidant capacity in the body. It enhanced the activity of the antioxidant enzymes. It reduced the markers of liver damage, and it actually helped to reverse the mild fatty liver condition. Fatty liver is a very common problem that we see here in people in Hong Kong. It comes on with eating too much and gaining weight and various other things, and having something that can reduce the fattiness in the liver is a very useful thing. This is a study that we did a few years ago in people who were relatively normal. They had slightly high blood pressure and slightly high cholesterol, and we treated them for a relatively short time with a Ganoderma lucidum extract, and the result shows that it reduced the plasma insulin and the insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance is a condition that one develops as you become overweight, and it's a sort of precursor of developing diabetes. And it also had good effects on the triglycerides, which went down, one of the blood lipids, and the cholesterol in HDL, which is thought to be the good cholesterol, increased. So these findings show that there is a benefit in terms of the sort of development of diabetes, and there is a benefit on the lipid profile in these people. Now, the Lingji is a rather woody type of fungus, very hard, and it's important to take the part of it which contains the most active ingredients, and the spores from the Lingji are thought to be the most important. And it takes 100 kilograms of the original fungus to generate just 1 kilogram of the spore powder. Next one, please. And so the polysaccharide, one of the important ingredients that is found in the Ganoderma spores, it's there in 70 times the concentration of that in the original fungus. So the spores are really the best part of the material containing the highest amount of the active ingredients. And here is the product coming from the Ganoderma spores, which is containing a large amount of this active ingredient, the polysaccharides, and this will have all of these beneficial effects that I've shown you from some of this medical literature that has been published very recently and reviewed and found to show beneficial effects in cancers and in liver problems and in lipids, diabetes. A whole range of different problems can be improved by this treatment with Ganoderma lucidum. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much, Brian.